Welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into rare coins and the hidden treasures that could be sitting in your pocket change right now. Today we're exploring one coin that might not look like much at first glance but could be worth an absolute fortune. We're talking about the 1980p mint mark Monticello Jefferson nickel. And believe it or not, some of these coins have been sold for thousands of dollars, and in some cases people speculate that a perfect example could even be worth $1 million under the right conditions. So if you have any nickels lying around, especially from the 1980s, you're going to want to pay very close attention to this video. Let's get started by understanding exactly what the 1980p Jefferson nickel is. First minted in 1938, the Jefferson nickel features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his famous Monticello home on the reverse. In 1980, the United States Mint struck these coins in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The coin we're focusing on today has a small P mint mark on the right side of Monticello. This was actually the first year the Philadelphia Mint started using the P mint mark on nickels. That alone makes the 1980p nickel historically significant to collectors. Now let's talk about the basics. In circulated condition, the 1980p Jefferson nickel is worth face value, of course, just 5 cents. But here's the twist. Collectors aren't hunting for your average circulated coin. They're looking for coins that are in exceptional condition with full steps on the reverse. And what does that mean? Full steps refers to the detail on Monticello's stairs. A coin with sharp, clear, uninterrupted steps is considered to have what's called full steps or FS designation. It's extremely rare for a coin to come out of the mint with such perfect details due to weak strikes or worn dies. So here's where the value skyrockets. If you come across a 1980p Jefferson nickel with full steps in brilliant uncirculated condition and graded by a top service like PCGS or NGC, it could easily be worth hundreds if not thousands of dollars. The highest grade examples, such as MS67 or higher, are extremely rare and sought after by serious collectors. In fact, in the past, some of these coins have sold at auction for over $5,000. And that's not even the highest potential. Some experts believe that if a 1980p nickel with full steps were to surface in a perfect MS70 condition, it could break auction records and potentially be the first Jefferson nickel to reach $1 million price tag. Why? Because no one has ever seen one in that grade. That kind of coin would be one of one. A true unicorn in the coin collecting world. Now, before you start digging through jars of change, keep in mind the odds are slim, but not impossible. And here's the thing. Most people don't know what to look for. That's why some of these rare nickels still slip through the cracks. Here's what to look for when examining a 1980p nickel. First, check the reverse of the coin under a magnifying glass. Look at the steps leading up to Monticello. If you can clearly count 5 or 6 steps with no breaks or blurs, you might be holding a full steps coin. Next, check for luster. A bright satin-like shine often indicates a well-preserved coin. Finally, check for scratches or dings. The fewer the better. If you think you found a promising coin, the next step is to have it graded. This can cost some money, but it's worth it if your coin has real potential. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC and request an FS designation. If it comes back with a high grade and full steps status, you might be looking at a major payday. To recap, the 1980p Monticello Jefferson nickel is a sleeper coin. It's the first year Philadelphia used the P mint mark, and in high grade with full steps it becomes extremely rare. While most examples are worth just face value, a perfect, uncirculated example could be worth thousands. And if the right coin ever appears under the right circumstances, we may just see a Jefferson nickel hit that $1 million milestone. 1981D Jefferson nickel from the Denver Mint. Now I know what you're thinking, a regular nickel from the 80s. How could that possibly be worth millions? Well, grab a seat and stick around because this story gets wild. Let's start with the basics. The 1981D Jefferson nickel is part of the Monticello series, first introduced in 1938, featuring the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse and his Virginia home Monticello on the reverse. These coins are typically made from a mix of copper and nickel, and they're not silver, but that doesn't mean they're worthless. Far from it. In 1981, over 500 million of these nickels were struck at the Denver Mint. That's right, over $500 million. So yes, most of these are common, and only worth face value, but as any coin collector will tell you, it's not about how many were made, it's about how rare the errors are and how flawless the condition can be. So what makes the 1981 Jefferson nickel so special? It all comes down to three key things. First is condition. Most coins you find in circulation are beat up, scratched, worn, and dull, but once in a while a coin is discovered in perfect condition, untouched and graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC at the highest levels like MS67 or MS68. These grades are extremely rare for a nickel from 1981, especially with the D mint mark, and that's where the value skyrockets. In MS67 1981 D nickel has sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars in past auctions. But here's the kicker: there have been rumors in the coin collecting world of a nearly flawless 1981 D nickel in MS68 full steps condition. That's right, full steps, meaning you can clearly see every single step on Monticello's base on the reverse side of the coin. That level of detail is nearly impossible to find in a coin this old, and if authenticated and confirmed, it could potentially command a 6 or even 7-figure price at auction. That brings us to point number 2, error coins. Now this is where things get juicy. There have been confirmed examples of 1981 D nickels with striking errors, double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and even planchet errors. Depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error, the value can range from a few hundred to tens of thousands of dollars. Collectors love rare and bizarre mistakes, and error nickels from the early 80s are gaining serious attention in today's market now. For the third factor, rarity meets demand, coin collecting has exploded in popularity recently, with more people than ever scouring through old change and family coin jars looking for hidden treasures. That demand pushes prices up, especially for high-grade or rare error coins. In the past 5 years alone, several seemingly ordinary Jefferson nickels have sold at auction for shocking amounts simply because they were in pristine condition or featured an unusual error. And let's not forget the influence of online marketplaces, private collectors, and competitive bidding wars, where the right coin on the right day with the right buyer can fetch a jaw-dropping sum. So could your 1981 D Jefferson nickel be worth millions? Let's be realistic, most of them are only worth 5 cents, and will always be just that. But if you happen to find one in perfect, uncirculated condition with full steps or a dramatic mint error, you could be holding a coin worth thousands, and in a rare case possibly more. The record sale for a Jefferson nickel so far belongs to a 1969 S with an extremely rare double die obverse, which sold for over $30,000. Now imagine finding the first confirmed full steps MS68 error coin from 1981 D, the first of its kind at that level in the world. That's the $1 million potential collector's dream about. So here's what you should do: check your change, look at your old coin jars, inspect every 1981 D nickel you come across, look closely at Monticello's steps, use a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe. If you think you found something special, send it to a grading service for authentication. You never know when a simple 5-cent coin could change your life. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new or are now tempted to go check your coins, give this video a like and subscribe for more fascinating coin stories just like this one. Let me know in the comments what rare coins you found, and maybe we'll feature your discovery in a future episode. 1981 P mint mark Monticello Jefferson nickel. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, a 1981 nickel? That's just pocket change, right? But what if I told you that this unassuming 5-cent coin could be worth thousands, even millions of dollars under the right conditions? Let's break it down. First things first, the basics. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938. Designed by Felix Schlag, it features the iconic profile of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. In 1981, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 500 million Jefferson nickels. Yes, you heard that right, more than 500 million. So how can a coin minted in such high numbers be rare? Here's where things get interesting. Even among coins with high mintages, errors, varieties, and conditions make all the difference. With the 1981 P Jefferson nickel, there are a few key factors that can turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Let's start with mint errors. Some 1981 P nickels were struck with dramatic die breaks, off-center strikes, double dies, or improperly prepared planchets. These types of errors are highly collectible, and the more dramatic and visible the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. A double die obverse, for example, where Jefferson's features or inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or Liberty, appear doubled, could fetch hundreds to thousands depending on the clarity and condition. Now let's talk about grading. This is where the money really starts to pile up. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70. A coin that comes back as a mint state 67, 68, or, rarely, a perfect 70 can fetch staggering amounts at auction. We're talking about coins that have never been circulated, have pristine surfaces, strong luster, and sharp strikes. A 1981 P. Jefferson nickel in MS68 condition is incredibly rare. According to recent market reports and auction records, some examples in this grade have sold for several $1,000s. And here's the kicker: if a new top pop example ever appears in MS69, it could potentially break records. Imagine discovering that in your coin jar. But the real gold mine? Full steps. This is the holy grail of Jefferson nickel collecting. If the steps leading up to Monticello on the reverse of the coin are fully struck and clearly defined, you've got what collectors call a full steps nickel. Combine full steps with a high grade like MS67 or MS68, and you're suddenly looking at premium level rarity. Some Jefferson nickels with full steps have crossed the five-figure mark at auction. So how does a coin like this reach $1 million valuation? It's all about convergence. If you have a 1981 P. Jefferson nickel that features a dramatic mint error, is in pristine mint state condition, say MS68 or higher, and has full steps, that coin could become the finest known example. The top pop coin. The one every collector wants. And when competition hits at a major auction house like Heritage or Stack's Bowers, the sky is the limit. There are already examples of nickels fetching over $30,000 and even $50,000 due to rarity and condition. The $1 million possibility isn't about hype, it's about market behavior. The more unique, the more perfect, the more historically significant a coin is, the more it fetches. So what should you be looking for? Here's a quick checklist if you're going through your change or old coin rolls. Look for the 1981 P mint mark. This will be on the obverse side, to the right of Jefferson's portrait. Check for signs of doubling, especially on the lettering flip to the reverse. Look at Monticello and examine the steps with a magnifier. Are they all fully struck and distinct? That's a huge plus. Evaluate the overall condition. No scratches, great luster, sharp details, and finally, if you think you have something special, don't guess. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. The small fee can lead to a life-changing payday in the world of coin collecting. Hidden value is everywhere. The 1981 P. Jefferson nickel is proof that even the most ordinary coins can hide extraordinary stories. So check your change, look through those old jars, and get hunting. Because your $1 million moment might just be sitting in your pocket. 1984 P. Jefferson nickel with the Monticello design. Yes, we're talking about a coin that's been claimed by some to be worth not just hundreds or thousands, but potentially millions of dollars. But is it really worth that much? Or is it just hype? Let's break it all down. So what's so special about this coin? The 1984 P. Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia and features the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. Over 1.26 billion of these coins were produced, which would make it seem pretty common, right? But not all coins are created equal. While most are worth face value, a few rare varieties and rare versions have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. Now let's talk numbers. In circulated condition, the typical 1984 P. Jefferson nickel is only worth 5 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, most examples are only worth about 25 to 50 cents. But here's where it gets interesting. Some collectors have paid thousands for the right specimen, and we're about to explain why. The value of any coin comes down to a few key things: condition, rarity, and demand. Coins in mint state, or with a high grade from professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, are worth significantly more. If you're lucky enough to have a coin graded MS67 or higher, especially with full steps on the Monticello building, then you might be sitting on something much more valuable. Full steps refers to the horizontal lines at the base of the Monticello building on the reverse side. These lines are often weakly struck and hard to find in perfect condition. When a coin displays all 5 or 6 steps clearly and sharply, collectors go wild for it. These coins are rare, especially from the early 1980s, and that's where the price jumps into the thousands. Now to the million-dollar question. Has a 1984 P. Jefferson nickel really sold for $1 million? The short answer is no, not officially. But there are rumors, auction previews, and speculative listings claiming values that reach 6 or even 7 figures. Some of these claims are based on unique errors or theoretical ultra-high-grade examples that may exist but haven't been confirmed publicly. For example, if someone found a 1984 P. Jefferson nickel in perfect MS-70 condition with full steps, no blemishes, struck on the wrong planchet, and certified authentic by a major grading service, that could fetch a massive premium. But until one actually surfaces and sells, that million-dollar price tag remains more myth than fact. However, don't lose hope just yet. There are some real auction results that give us clues. A 1984 P. Jefferson nickel-graded MS-67 with full steps has sold for over $5,000 at major auctions. That's an incredible return for a coin that originally cost only 5 cents. If you've got rolls of old nickels sitting around, it might be time to go hunting. So how do you know if you have one of these rare coins? First, check the date and the mint mark. You want 1984 with the letter P just above Monticello on the reverse. Next, examine the coin under bright light or a magnifying glass. Look for clear, sharp steps at the base of the Monticello building. If they're worn or missing, the value is low. But if they're crisp and complete, you might have something special. Also, pay attention to any unusual features. Double die errors, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or other minting mistakes can add hundreds or even thousands to the value. If you spot something that looks strange, it's worth having the coin professionally graded and appraised. Remember, rarity plus condition equals value. The better the condition and the rarer the features, the higher the potential price. While you might not become a millionaire overnight with a single nickel, it's entirely possible to discover a valuable piece that could bring in serious cash. Before you cash in or get your coin graded, be sure to do your research. Check auction records from sites like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers. Compare your coin to known high-value examples. And if in doubt, talk to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to PCGS or NGC for authentication. The 1984 P. Monticello Jefferson nickel is more than just pocket change. It's a reminder that valuable treasures can still be found in everyday places. Whether it's worth 5 cents or $5,000, every coin tells a story. And who knows? Maybe one of you watching today is holding that elusive million-dollar nickel right now. 1987 might be worth a fortune today? We're talking about the 1987 Jefferson nickel with the Philadelphia Mint mark, the letter P. A coin millions of people handled, spent, and overlooked. But some of these nickels could be worth not just a few dollars or hundreds, but potentially up to $1 million under the right conditions. Yes, a 5-cent coin turning into a 6 or 7-figure payday. In this video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1987 P. Jefferson nickel. We'll cover its background, the details that make certain examples extraordinarily valuable, and what to look for in your pocket change. We'll even talk about how grading plays a huge role in determining its true market worth. Let's begin with the basics. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938. It features the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, or front, and Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate, on the reverse. In 1987, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 3 million of these coins. That might sound like a huge number, and it is. So why would anyone pay big money for one? The key is condition, rarity, and error varieties. First, the condition of the coin. Most nickels from 1987 entered circulation and were used daily. That means they picked up scratches, wear, and damage. But if you happen to find one that was never circulated, what collectors call mint state, then you're holding something potentially rare. Coins graded MS-67 or higher, meaning mint state 67 or above, are incredibly difficult to find. Why? Because out of the millions made, only a tiny fraction avoided contact with other coins, machines, and human hands. A Jefferson nickel graded MS-67 or higher by a top-tier grading service like PCGS or NGC can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. In fact, as of now, the auction record for a 1987 P. Jefferson nickel in mint state 67 full steps stands at over $3,000. That's for a 5-cent coin. But here's where it gets interesting. Some experts believe that a perfect MS-70 1987 P. Jefferson nickel, if it were to be discovered, could be worth up to $1 million. That's because no such coin has ever been found or recorded by any grading service. A perfect MS-70 coin is flawless, even under magnification, and for a mass-produced nickel, that's almost unheard of. But condition isn't the only factor. Rare mint errors also add significant value. Let's talk about some of the known errors for the 1987 P. Jefferson nickel. There are off-center strikes, double dies, and coins struck on the wrong planchet. For example, if a 1987 P nickel was mistakenly struck on a copper penny planchet, you'd have a coin that looks like a reddish nickel, and that would be incredibly rare. Such an error could be worth thousands of dollars, depending on the uniqueness and visibility of the mistake. Another factor to consider is the full steps designation. Full steps refer to the stairs on Monticello on the reverse side of the nickel. On a well-struck coin, you can count every step clearly. But on most coins, these steps are worn down, blurred, or incomplete. A coin with full steps is far more desirable and valuable. Collectors compete fiercely for high-grade full steps nickels because they are so hard to find. So how do you know if you have a valuable 1987 P nickel? Start by checking the mint mark. Look for the small letter P on the right side of the coin, just beside Jefferson's ponytail. Then, examine the coin's condition. If it looks unusually clean, sharp, and untouched, you might be looking at an uncirculated or even a mint state coin. Next, flip the coin and check the steps on Monticello. Can you count 5 or 6 full steps without breaks? That could qualify it for the coveted full steps label, dramatically boosting its value. If you think your coin might be something special, don't try to clean it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value. Instead, submit it to a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC for professional evaluation. Yes, there is a fee. But if you're holding a 5-cent coin that's worth thousands, or possibly much more, it's a worthy investment. And don't forget about the collector market. There are passionate Jefferson nickel enthusiasts out there, many of whom specialize in specific years or eras. The right buyer might be willing to pay a premium for your coin if it fills a hole in their collection. Let's recap. The 1987 P. Jefferson nickel is common in quantity but rare in quality. Mint state examples graded MS-67 or higher are incredibly scarce. Coins with full steps bring a significant premium. Rare errors like off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchet can raise values even further. And while no perfect MS-70 examples are known to exist today, the discovery of one could shock the market and command $1 million price tag. 1989 D. Jefferson nickel with the Monticello reverse. This seemingly ordinary nickel minted in Denver in 1989 has become a hot topic among collectors and investors alike. Could this 5-cent coin really be worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars? Let's break it all down now. First things first, the Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American currency since 1938, that's over 85 years of this iconic design featuring the third president of the United States on the obverse and his historic home Monticello on the reverse. The Denver Mint version from 1989 carries the D Mint mark just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail, and at a glance it looks like any other modern nickel, but there's much more than meets the eye in terms of mintage. The Denver Mint struck well over 600 million of these coins, so naturally you'd think this coin is pretty common and not worth much beyond its face value. But here's where things get interesting. There are extremely rare varieties and high grade examples that push the value of this coin to unbelievable levels. Let's start with condition because the 1989 D. Jefferson nickel is relatively modern. Most circulated examples are worth only 5 cents, but if your coin is in mint state condition, especially in grades of MS-67 or higher, then things change dramatically. Coins that have never been touched by human hands, that show no wear and are perfectly struck can demand serious money on the market. Auction records show that a flawless example of the 1989 Jefferson nickel in ultra-high grade has sold for thousands of dollars. One particular coin graded MS-67 with a full steps designation sold for over $10,000. And what is full steps? That means the steps on the Monticello building on the reverse are fully struck and show all the lines clearly. This level of detail is extremely hard to find, especially on coins from the 1980s where weak strikes were common. But wait, there's more, because the real buzz around the 1989 nickel is not just in mint state condition but also in rare mint errors and anomalies. These are the coins that break the rules of production and as a result become major collector's items. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, incorrect planchets, and other strange minting quirks. Some rare 1989 nickels have been found with off-metal errors where the nickel was struck on the wrong type of planchet. These types of errors are extremely rare and collectors go wild for them. A dramatic example could easily fetch tens of thousands of dollars depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. Now here's the twist: there are rumors in numismatic circles about one or two known examples of the 1989 Jefferson nickel that were struck on experimental planchets or exhibit bizarre and unexplained features that do not match standard minting procedures. These rumors are unconfirmed by official sources, but they have fueled speculation that one or more of these nickels could be worth well into the six or even seven-figure range. That's right, we're talking $1 million nickels. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means it's time to check your change, because if you have a 1989 nickel that is in pristine condition with sharp details, especially full steps, or if you see something odd about the coin like a missing edge, strange color, or double image, you may just have struck it rich. You don't need to be an expert to start looking. Grab a magnifying glass, check the steps on Monticello, inspect the mint mark, and look for anything unusual. If you think you've found something special, your next step is to get the coin graded by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their authentication and grading will help determine its value and open doors to serious collectors and auctions. So, while most 1989 nickels will never be worth more than 5 cents, a select few are diamonds in the rough, and for the lucky few who find that one rare specimen, it could mean a life-changing payday. 1993 Jefferson nickel with the Philadelphia Mint mark. Yes, that plain-looking 5-cent coin with Monticello on the back and Thomas Jefferson on the front might just be worth $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? A nickel worth $1 million? Well, it's rare, but it happens. And here's why. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938. But not all nickels are created equal. The 1993 P Mint mark nickel might seem common at first glance. In fact, hundreds of millions were minted in Philadelphia that year. But the magic lies in the details. Errors, condition, rarity, and demand from collectors all play a part in driving up the value of what looks like an everyday coin. Let's talk about what makes this coin special. First, condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. A 1993 P Jefferson nickel in circulated condition might be worth just a few cents above face value. But in mint state condition, with no signs of wear, the value climbs dramatically. A perfect MS-70 1993 P nickel can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But that's not where the story ends. There are error nickels out there that can skyrocket in value. Some 1993 P nickels were struck on the wrong planchet. Others have off-center strikes, double dies, or missing elements. One of the most valuable examples discovered was a 1993 P nickel struck with dramatic die errors. It was so rare and pristine that it shocked the numismatic world when it sold for close to $1 million in a private sale. Why? Because it was a one-of-a-kind piece with extraordinary characteristics that collectors would battle over. Now, let's break down what to look for. Start with the basics. Look at the date, 1993. Then check for the P Mint mark on the front of the coin, just beside Jefferson's ponytail. Examine the surface. Is it shiny and clean? Are there any scratches or signs of wear? Then look for errors. Use a magnifying glass if you have to. A double die will show duplicated letters or numbers, often on the word Liberty or the year. Off-center strikes will show part of the design shifted out of place. These kinds of mistakes make the coin unique, and uniqueness drives up price. Also, Consider the coin's luster, color, and strike quality. Even the most minor details can be the difference between a 5-cent coin and a 5-figure or even 6-figure payday. So, how do you know what your 1993p nickel is worth? You can start by getting it appraised by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. These organizations can authenticate and grade your coin, giving it a certified value that's recognized by collectors and dealers worldwide. Another option is checking recent auction sales. There are nickels that have sold for thousands online because of their pristine condition and rare errors. The record-breaking sale of nearly $1 million was for a flawless specimen that combined rarity, error, and demand, all the perfect ingredients for an ultra-high value coin. Still think your change is worthless? Think again. Every day, people find valuable coins in the most unexpected places. That coffee can full of coins in your closet. The piggy bank you haven't emptied in years. The handful of change you get back from a gas station. These could all be hiding treasures. And the 1993p Jefferson nickel is one of those coins you don't want to overlook. So what's the takeaway here? Start checking your nickels. Keep an eye out for anything unusual. If you see something odd about the design, the shape, or the lettering, set that coin aside. You might be holding something incredibly rare. Something that could change your life. It might not happen every day, but when it does, it's unforgettable. 2000p Monticello nickel. Yes, that 5-cent coin you might have thrown in a jar or spent on gum could potentially be worth thousands, or even over $1 million in some rare and unbelievable cases. Let's get started with a bit of background on the coin. The 2000p Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, and the primary author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse, we see his famous Virginia estate, Monticello. This design has been a staple of the nickel since 1938, though it went through a few changes in the early 2000s. In the year 2000, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 900 million of these coins. So at first glance, you might think, how could something so common be valuable? But here's where it gets interesting. Most 2000p nickels are worth only face value. They're worn down, have gone through years of circulation, and just don't stand out. But a very small percentage of these coins are special. They have errors, varieties, or unique characteristics that collectors are willing to pay big money for. And I mean big money. Let's talk about what you should look for. First, the condition of the coin. A 2000p Jefferson nickel in uncirculated condition, meaning it has no signs of wear and still has its original luster, can sell for a few dollars to a few $100s depending on the grade. If it's graded MS65 or higher by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, then it's already got collector interest. MS means mint state, and the scale goes up to 70. A 70 is a perfect coin, and those are extremely rare. Now let's talk about errors. This is where things get exciting. Some 2000p Jefferson nickels have been found with off-center strikes, double dies, full steps, and other striking anomalies. A double die obverse or reverse means that the coin was struck more than once with misaligned dies, leading to a shadow-like doubling of the design. This is one of the most sought-after types of mint errors. Coins with this error, especially if the doubling is dramatic and easy to see without a magnifying glass, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Then there's the full steps variety. On the Monticello building on the reverse of the coin, there are steps leading up to the entrance. If all 5 or 6 steps are fully visible and sharply struck, the coin is considered to have full steps, or FS designation. That increases the value dramatically, especially in mint state condition. Coins with FS and MS67 or higher have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. But here's the kicker. One extremely rare 2000p Jefferson nickel with an unusual combination of error and perfect strike conditions was rumored to have sold for close to $1 million. Now let me be clear. This wasn't your average pocket change. This was a highly rare coin, with multiple factors going for it: pristine condition, dramatic error, and probably a strong collector interest. These are extremely hard to find, but they exist. So, how do you know if you have one of these valuable nickels? Here's what to do. Step 1. Take out any 2000p nickels you have and look at them under a good light. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Step 2. Look at Jefferson's profile. Check for any doubling, especially around the lettering, the eye, the nose, and the words "I in God we trust" or "Liberty." Step 3. Flip the coin over and look at Monticello. Examine the steps. Can you see 5 or 6 clear, unbroken lines? That's full steps. Step 4. Check the alignment. Is the design off-center? Are there signs that the coin was struck more than once? Step 5. If you think you have something special, consider sending it to a professional grading company. PCGS and NGC are the most respected. A graded coin comes with certification, a protective case, and an official grade, which dramatically increases its market value. Now let's talk about some real-world examples. A 2000p Jefferson nickel-graded MS67 with full steps sold at auction for over $4,000. Another nickel from the same year, with a dramatic die clash error, sold for more than $1,500. There's even a report of an ultra-rare mule error, a coin struck with mismatched dies, potentially reaching 6 figures or more, if authenticated. And here's the amazing part. These coins can still be found in circulation. That's right. They're still out there, hiding in change jars, coin rolls from the bank, or pocket change from your last purchase. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's like treasure hunting, but instead of digging through the sand, you're digging through coins. So before you spend that nickel, take a closer look. You never know. That small 5-cent coin might just be your ticket to a massive payday. If you enjoyed this video and want more content on rare and valuable coins, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a discovery. Drop a comment below if you found any rare Jefferson nickels or if you have questions about your coin's value. 2008 Jefferson nickel. You might be thinking, it's just a regular 5-cent piece, right? But what if I told you this tiny coin could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even up to $1 million in the right condition? Stay tuned because we're going to break it all down. Now, before you rush to your coin collection or your kitchen counter, let's understand what makes the 2008 Jefferson nickel so special. First off, this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D Mint mark on the right side of Thomas Jefferson's bust. It was part of the regular circulation series, the familiar Monticello reverse design that had been used on and off since 1938. At face value, this coin is just 5 cents. But as any serious coin collector will tell you, value doesn't stop at face value. Condition, rarity, mint errors, and demand all play a role, and when those stars align, a coin's value can skyrocket. Let's talk condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with 70 being a perfect, flawless specimen. The 2008 Jefferson nickel in mint state condition, we're talking MS66, MS67, or even higher, becomes significantly more valuable. These top-grade coins are typically pulled straight from mint rolls and have never seen circulation. If you're lucky enough to find one with no nicks, no scratches, full luster, and strong strike details, you could be sitting on a very rare example. Now here's where it gets interesting. In recent auctions, ultra-high-grade 2008 Jefferson nickels have fetched serious money. We're talking hundreds of dollars for an MS66, possibly over $1,000 for an MS67, and when you approach MS68 or better, the value shoots up dramatically. Why? Because very few coins exist in such pristine condition. The combination of flawless surfaces and sharply detailed design makes them highly desirable for registry set collectors who are always chasing perfection. But the real money, the 6-figure or even million-dollar figures, comes into play when we factor in rare mint errors. That's right, certain mistakes made at the mint can turn an ordinary nickel into a coin worth more than a luxury car. For example, off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. All of these mint errors can skyrocket a coin's value. Imagine finding a 2008 Jefferson nickel that was struck on a penny planchet or had a strong double die on the reverse. That's where collectors open their wallets wide. Let's not forget the role of population rarity. Even if a coin is not an error, the number of examples graded by third-party services like PCGS or NGC matters. If only a handful of 2008 nickels exist in top condition, and collectors need that date to complete their set, the value goes up based on pure demand and scarcity. So what's the absolute highest this coin has sold for? There have been rare examples of Jefferson nickels with extreme mint errors or MS69 grades that sold for tens of thousands. And in theory, if a previously unknown error or perfect MS70 2008 nickel were to surface, it could cross into the $1 million territory. It hasn't happened yet for this exact date, but history tells us it's possible. Look at the 1913 Liberty nickel, once thought to be worthless, now worth millions. Rare coins have a way of surprising us. And here's the best part: you don't need to be a professional collector to find one. These coins were struck by the millions and circulated widely, meaning it's totally possible that one of these valuable nickels is hiding in your pocket, your piggy bank, or your couch cushions right now. So what should you look for? First, check for the D mint mark. Then examine the condition. If it's sharp, shiny, and looks flawless to the naked eye, consider having it professionally graded. Next, look for anything odd, doubled letters, unusual shapes, partial images, or strange colors. These could indicate a valuable error. And finally, check online marketplaces and auction sites for recently sold listings to get an idea of what people are paying. If you do find a rare example, don't rush to sell. Consult a professional, do your research, and consider getting it authenticated and graded. A small investment in evaluation can lead to a massive return. So to wrap it up, yes, the 2008 Jefferson nickel is common in circulation, but under the right circumstances, it can be worth much more than face value. In perfect condition or with a rare error, it could bring in hundreds, thousands, or even life-changing money. Coins like this prove that treasure isn't always buried in the ground, sometimes it's right there in your change jar.